Streaming live now.
We're live.
All right. All right, now let's talk about it live. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We're so excited to come to you with Let's Talk About It with Alice. We have a great afternoon planned for you. And the only thing that we say is sit back, hit the like button, hit the share button, so that you can invite everybody in. And that's exactly what we're doing, inviting everybody in. We are excited to bring to you information that's relevant, what's really going on, and bringing you information about financial legacy this afternoon. We're so excited to bring Brandy Burrell back on. Hi, Brandy. Bring Octavia's back with us, of course. There's Terry.
Hey, everybody.
All right, and then Shawana is back on. So again, this is Let's Talk About It with Alice, and we're excited. So let's get started with what is really going on. Hey guys, what is really going on with our young people? What's going on with that? I heard something about TikTok, and we just want to be relevant. We want to bring you this. This is very clear that what's really trending is slap a teacher, hit a teacher, and tear up the restrooms. All of these things. I think we talked about this once.
Slap
before.
a teacher.
Slap a teacher.
Hey, slap a teacher on the butt too.
Teacher backside. What is it?
Slap a teacher on the butt.
Slap a teacher on the butt. This is a felony. Not only a felony, but what else? Young people, this is assault. This is assault. Parents, make your children aware. No, that's not acceptable. However, it's happening. Just spoke with the teacher just earlier today. She said they tore their restrooms up.
Yeah.
I mean, just tore up the restroom.
Wow.
And you believe that? It makes no sense. And then they're videoing themselves doing this. This is happening all over.
Even in the elementary schools, because my grandson told me they was doing it in the elementary schools.
Wow.
Now that's young.
That's it. What we can say to you is, parents, raise your level of awareness. Be aware of what they're doing, things that they're watching.
Terry, in the elementary school, you're kidding me? They are tearing up the restrooms in the elementary school?
Yes.
There's a lot of connectivity with social media. And so if they have an older sibling or neighbor, they're hearing these things and they're thinking it's socially cool. But really what it is vandalism and assault. Parents are going to be held accountable for it because you have a minor who's doing something. And as a parent, the school systems are going to hold you accountable. The teacher is going to hold you accountable, and you will be held accountable for your children's behavior. So we can't just, turn a blind eye to a lot of these challenges that are coming on TikTok. They're dangerous and they're causing our students to act out. And a lot of it has a lot of social basis on just really showing out, not wanting to be in school because of COVID-19 and different things that are stemming and streaming into our young people that are very negative, but it becomes this cool. It's not cool.
My granddaughter, I said, how are they taking the toilets and the sinks out? What are they, how do you need a tool to that? She said they're bringing their own tools. I said, what?
Yeah, children are bringing their own tools.
And I absolutely think we have to be very careful with this, right? As parents, because we really have to set that line of delineation, right? Like we see our counterparts, and when I say that, I mean other races do these things and, it's cool and it's the hip thing to do. However, you are African-American male and an African-American woman. So, the onus is, different. If you go and tear something up and vandalize, you are going to be looked at as a criminal, period. Right. And they're going to arrest you and take you out of that school in handcuffs. Well, they won't do your counterpart like that at all. So let's understand, let's tell our kids and let's be honest with our kids, like, hey, we just cannot do those things, period.
Right.
And it's disrespectful. And we're tearing up our own community by doing these things.
Right.
Yes. Where we've worked hard to get our communities, even just remotely to where we are now. And then yet our children come along and tear up what we have worked years to
I mean,
accomplish.
all for some likes, or numbers on Instagram or whatever it is. But that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yes, because not all of you will be the next, get rich quick by doing something that makes no sense and end your child up in jail, or parents paying a lot of money for for an attorney to do something that children should know better to do. So we're just saying, parents, please pay attention to what they are doing, listen to what they're saying, and help them. Just, you warn them, you just let them know, hey, that's not in your DNA. That's not who we are. And go
And
for that.
pay attention to the company they keep.
Right.
Really know
So
those
key.
friends. Yeah, it's so
Yes.
critical.
Parents, grandparents, great grandparents, aunties, uncles, all of us. It's the village. It's the
Right.
village. It takes a whole village to raise our children now. It's almost like it takes two villages to raise one child. So it takes the village to help us to do that, to help us to do the things that needs to be done. And let me tell you, there's an onslaught against our youth in every way, to tear their character down, to cause them to, act out in negative ways and negative behaviors. It's an onslaught. And it's almost like a setup. And so when our children buy into this ideology, thinking that it's fun and thinking that it's cool, it is not. It would end you up in a different place. Because always
Exactly.
remember this, in life, there are no excuses, only choices. And you have to make the choice. And that you'll have to live with the choices that you made and the consequences of the choices that you made in life. So, hey,
Exactly. What did they say? If you see something, say something. If you
something.
hear something, say something. That's as parents as well. You
Yeah.
have to. We have to teach our children to do the same
Yeah.
thing.
That's why let's
Mhm.
talk about it. It's all about information and sharing information as we roll on to, we're continuing to celebrate those who who are survivors of breast cancer. I'm still wearing my pink, probably the rest of this month, because I want to celebrate those who have really have come through it, and then to celebrate those who are already on this journey, who are in the middle of it. One of our church members lost, a family member, a sister to that. And so we're saying to you, you have family, even have lost family to that. This is the month that we're celebrating all of the accomplishments and all of those who are surviving and who are beating this thing. Men or women, whoever, we are celebrating you of breast cancer awareness. Now let's go.
Well,
Moving
in addition to celebrating,
Okay.
we want to just remind everybody to make sure that you're doing your own checks.
Yes.
To know
Yes.
your body,
Mhm.
know when something is off, go to the doctor, get checked out. But from a breast cancer awareness perspective, I mean, do your checks, go get your mammograms, do your self checks monthly. It's just
To
so
include
important.
men. To include men.
Yeah, men have to
All
do the
right.
same thing. Exactly.
Yes. So
We have some comments. We have some comments in the chat
yes,
real
move
quick.
on.
It was about what you were talking about earlier. I'll skip down. We've gotten away from the village raising children. This is from Dr. Webb. She said there are lots of children raising themselves or their parents. That's a powerful statement
That
right
is
there.
true.
And then Zandia
So
or
true.
Diane said, Elder Jackson, I still quote that to this day. No excuses, only choices.
In life,
Absolutely.
there are only, no excuse, only choices.
Right.
Um,
Absolutely.
the other part to it, as we're moving forward, let's talk about COVID. We always have to tip on that. We got just a few minutes on COVID, and that's that Moderna has rolled out their booster shot. And for those who've taken the Moderna, they rolled out their booster shot. Of course,
Moderna.
Pfizer
Well,
rolled
it hasn't-
out a couple
It's
weeks
not
ago.
fully rolled out just yet. So
Yeah.
Pfizer did get their
They
approval.
got approval. I'm sorry.
Moderna's going through that process,
Yeah.
almost
Okay.
there completely, and J&J
thought they
got
had
the
done
approval
that.
as well. Well, they are, I think the final, unless I'm reading
Dr.
an
Webb,
older
give us an
article,
update. Are you
the
there?
final,
Dr. Webb?
that they got the thumbs up, but they still have to get the final approval before it actually
Gotcha.
start rolling
Okay.
out.
Okay, so they'll be
But they
rolling
did
out.
get the thumbs up.
They
Yeah.
said, they said by, oh, I'm sorry, they said by November 1st, they should be rolled out.
Yeah, exactly. So that's when they should have the final thumbs up. But something that I did find interesting, and I told you I wanted to share this, was in terms of the numbers that they used to get the approval, the numbers for Moderna was like, well, for Pfizer, it was around 300, just a low number in the 300s for their approval for the booster. And for Moderna, it was about 170 plus patients for their approval. And I thought that was really interesting because we have millions that are on it, almost 200 million that have been fully vaccinated, 60 million that have not gotten the vaccine yet. So I thought it was interesting that the numbers were small, at least for the booster itself. But they are learning from what Israel has done because they have boosted, I think, over 3 million patients now. And so that's where I think the US is also getting their learnings from as well. Okay, she said Moderna and J&J got approval ready by 11/1. Pfizer shots are available now, is what Dr. Webb said.
Yes.
So a question, so does it matter, like, say for instance, I got Moderna, so I just got to go get Moderna again? Because some people I'm sure gonna flip-flop.
Well, they're studying that now. So they are right now, yes, you go get Moderna again, but they are actually studying being able to utilize either the Pfizer one if you're on Moderna, even the J&J, they're looking at that, trying to see if you can cross over even there as well. So those studies are underway. They're looking at patients right now to see if that's possible, but that data hasn't come out yet. She said that they're also, as you say, learning from other experience globally. Yes, to get the same vax originally, the one that you originally had. So yeah, so right now you get the one that you originally had, but they are doing the studies to see if there's a possibility to cross over without having some sort of adverse event coming from it. But the other thing before we move on to what we're here to talk about today, which is our legacy and finance, continue with that discussion. But the other thing that I found was really interesting that's trending is the fact that we have thrown away so many millions of doses of these vaccines, which is so unfortunate because the vaccine it's only hit 1% of the third world countries. They have not gotten these vaccines, and we're throwing away millions of doses. And so that needs to be rectified, that they need to figure that out because there's too many people around the world that are not vaccinated yet, hadn't even gotten their first dose, but yet we're throwing away doses.
Yeah, why?
A combination of things. So some of it is because they'll make an appointment for a person and they're no-show. They've already prepared it and then they don't show up for that. That's one. That's not the biggest reason. The other one could be, yes, expiration, only utilizing parts of the vial, because there's multiple doses in each of the vials. So only utilizing parts of the vials. And I'm sure there's other reasons that are, issues with maybe the solution looks tainted or something. So I'm sure it's a number of different reasons, but at the end of the day, we should not be throwing it in one state. I think it was Wisconsin, it was like in the tens of millions that they were just throwing away. And it's so unfortunate. So to me, we need to get that part figured out, because if only 1% of third world countries who can't fend for themselves have been vaccinated, how do we say that we're trying to help the globe? We got to do better, in my mind.
Yeah.
So that's just wanted to give you that bit of an update.
Well, I think that's some good information. And I think that people will appreciate that information. So as we're moving along, we're talking about legacy. Wow. One of the things that I heard, and I was in attendance at a homegoing celebration, and one of the things I heard this minister say, leave a legacy. He said that, there are 5 L's that we should really, our life should really be depiction of our life. It should be to live, to love, to learn. He said to listen and to leave a legacy. And, loving is, this is what we've gotten away from, but love is should be a part of our lives. But he said to leave a legacy. What will your legacy be? And this is what we're talking about. We've talked about different areas of legacy. Today, we want to talk about a financial legacy. And so I'm going to shoot it off. Hey, Brandy is here. Octavia is here. I thought we had a great conversation about it last week. And this week will not be any short than what we had last week. All right, Shawana, y'all ready to go with it?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and
Let's go.
share the screen. We have a couple of slides that I know that Brandy wants to talk us through, and we're going to really just talk about them. We're going to debate them. So give me a second to get this pulled up properly. Get
Okay.
my computer to do what it needs to do. And let me put it in presentation mode. And let me swap my display. Can you guys see that?
Nothing yet.
I think
Okay. Let's see. All right, has it popped up?
Nope.
No, not yet.
All right, well, y'all go ahead and start talking. I'll get this thing
All
pulled
right.
up. Give me a second.
So, Brandy, and as well
let me
as
know when you see
Octavia.
it.
Brandy, I
Mhm.
want you to start off because you've gotten this information and you shared it with us. And I think it's really, really key because it's talking about, how many young people and how many young people I would say women versus men that attend college. And then the debt that they owe.
Well, I would tell you this, it was really interesting. The reason I went and got the research and the data is because the position that I sit in for my job, it has never been filled with anyone that looks like me, my
Mm.
gender or my color. And I think I shared last week that I hold 2 masters. And so when we start looking at people of color, brown and Black people that are getting education and they're going and they're getting 4-year degrees or 6-year degrees, there is a large disparity gap as it relates to scholarships, grants, and also the debt coming out of school. So a lot of the research I did show that women of color, we are carrying the bulk of the debt. But some people will say, and I'm gonna let Octavia take this, that bulk of the debt that we're carrying is because we are no longer actually sitting and taking minuscule positions and going to college for minuscule things. We are now into STEM, science, technology. And because we're into those things as women of color, we're going to school, and the debt that comes with going to these schools because of these programs is magnanimous. So I'm gonna turn it over to Octavia because I think there's some things that he wants to share as it relates to us as women being in STEM programs, going to colleges, especially these, I'm gonna call them, and I'm gonna term them name brand colleges. There's nothing wrong with them, but I'm gonna call them name brand colleges. I'm
I
gonna
like
call them
that.
the Versace's
That's
of
cool.
colleges, the Michael Kors, the Louis Vuittons of colleges.
Talk about it.
Those colleges,
Talk about it.
those
Yes.
are the, yeah.
Name brand college.
Go ahead,
So-
Octavia.
Go ahead.
Hello, everybody. So when we talk about student loan debt in the African American community, we have to be very careful because, like I said, everything that we see that's popularized media, all those things, it's always with a negative slant, right? Like
Yeah.
more African females have more debt because we have more African American females getting more education, right?
Mhm.
More than
Right.
our African American male peers, right? And by far, not only secondary education, which means it's your 4-year college, liberal arts. Now we're moving on into masters, right? And everybody who's in education understands that to get to the 6-figure paying job and above, you have to have your master's, you have to have your doctorate, and in order to get those, it's going to be a lot more expensive than your 4-year institution. Period.
Right.
Right.
Right. So there's a direct correlation between the loan debt and making those six-figure incomes and more.
Right.
So
Right.
it's not a bad thing. What we discussed earlier is eliminating the spending or lack thereof, like taking more loan than you need, right? So we have a bad problem, especially at HBCUs, of taking these student loans. You're going in as freshmen. They tell you, hey, you need $500 to complete your credit, or to get registered, right? But we'll offer you a $2,000 loan, and you can get the $1,500 back as a refund.
And
So what do we
Octavius,
do?
let me tell you, I was one of those students, because you were not educated on that. You didn't know.
Absolutely.
All you did was know that, okay, if I take out the max, then I can use the rest of the money to pay some, my rent and just have some money. I can go shopping. I can do all this stuff. I can put money, so you just had no clue. And to me, when these students take out these loans, there should be some sort of class that you force them to sit through before you sign the dotted line or something, because you have no clue. I mean, maybe it'll work. For some, it'll work. For some, it may not. But at the end of the day, there has to be some sort of education attached to it, because outside of that, students are just going to sign the dotted line on that promissory note.
Even if parents don't make them aware, I just think that, to me, when they come to college, that ought to be, the first thing they should take something one-on-one about, financial,
literacy.
I would just, what was it?
Financial literacy.
Yeah, financial literacy.
101.
I just say 101, because a lot of parents don't know. I didn't know. I even took out a student loan, and a parent loan, Parent Plus loan, the first year, especially when one was in college, and but even at that, parents don't understand. Some parents have taken out, large, huge loans for their children, and they're having to struggle and pay that even after the children have gotten grown and on their own. These parents are still stuck with a loan that their child was in school. So we just need some education on that.
We need to look at also is those parents that take out a second mortgage to send their children to school. And then the child does not complete the educational expectation.
Exactly.
And then there is that debt. And I just want to say, the way student loans are presented to our students, it's like it's the best and the greatest thing. It's like you just put your feet in a pair of Michael Jordans. And all you had to do was sign for it, and you can pay for it at the end, but you'll still have these brand new Michael Jordans. And the reality is, we don't educate in the school system. Counselors, I'm talking to you.
Talk to those counselors,
that are in the school, that you have the ear of your student and the ear of your parent. And you do not take the time to say, what, principal, what, school system, let's set up these classes and courses and explain to parents that every time you take a student loan, you have tied yourself to something that you cannot file bankruptcy on. Sorry, there is no bankruptcy. You pay this till you die. And if it's a co-sign loan, then the person that's on that second part of that loan, they will pay it even after you are passed on.
Oh, wow.
And the worst thing is
getting out of this.
Yeah.
So I would definitely like to speak to this and what you just said, Brandy, because it's important. So first of all, and I believe this, and I want every parent to understand where I'm coming from. You should never ever have to take out a loan for your child to go to college. Okay, so I understand
That's
why
one
parents,
thing.
I understand why parents do it, but you shouldn't because I don't. So two factors. We're still first, second, third generation going to college, right? So against our peers, they're 10th generation right now, So they have a science. It's a science for them. They know already going in. They've already saved from childhood, up to they're graduated seniors for college. They have money dedicated for that. When our kids are going to college, we don't have money dedicated to that. So our only resource is loans. So when you were talking about, hey, getting these loans, first of all, I need to understand, and we spoke about this before, that my child is committed to the process, right? How do you know your child is committed to the process? Hey, they score high on their SATs. They're getting good grades. They're committed to school. If your child is just barely making a 1.8, but you want a 1.8, you know, but he graduates and he scores a 800 on the SAT and he just barely gets in, it's almost statistically speaking, he's not going to graduate or she's not going to graduate. So how do we offset that? We send them to junior college. We talked about this. We send them to junior college to make sure they're serious about going to school. That way we can pay for it out of pocket, right?
Yes.
We can
Right.
give $600, $700 a semester, you know, for them to take 4 or 5 classes and make sure, okay, you're ready, you're prepared, right? And you don't have to go into a 4-year program and then have to take remedial classes, which you're still gonna have to pay for. But guess what?
Right.
That's extended your 4-year time
The
to
4
5
years.
to 6 years.
Right,
But
right.
then all students are not college material. This is the
Absolutely.
other part that
True,
parents
true.
have to understand. They can go to a technical college. I remember I went to a technical college, you know, as an LPN. Some of my friends went on and got their RN, but I was more interested in something else. So
Right.
I worked as an LPN for 20 years, but what I'm saying is that I got that medical background, and then I was able to branch off into what I was really interested in. So I'm
Mhm.
saying some students do well in a technical college
Mhm.
where they can get a skill and go right to
Right.
work.
And
So-
I just
No,
think that's
Right.
Octavius, I agree with you. I believe, I mean, I agree with what you're saying that parents should save up, but the reality says a lot of parents do not save up, and students,
No.
they may not qualify for, the students may not qualify for a Pell Grant, they may not qualify for those things, but they
Yeah.
can search out student scholarships. They can
Mhm.
also, sometimes student loans are the last resort. So what do you say about that?
so. Let's talk about that, right? First of all, if you don't qualify for Pell, if you don't qualify for just your local grants and all those things, that means you're already in a higher income bracket.
Yeah.
Real talk, right?
Mhm.
That means you're above the poverty level. You're either medium income or high income, tax bracket wise, which implies, okay, you have an education some type. You've done some well somehow. You own your own home, but you haven't set aside money for education.
Something's
So-
wrong with that.
At this point, you decide in your, you know, bit of wisdom to go and secure a $40,000-$50,000 loan. It doesn't make sense.
So let me just share with you right quick what the Asian community do. And I found this very interesting because I saw this when I was stationed in Korea. When they have their babies, there's a ceremony that they do, and they lay out all of these wonderful things. And whichever one of those things the child crawls to, they automatically start saving money for that. But they're very intelligent in the way they do this. So even if it takes that child an hour to crawl to something, they will wait for that child to crawl to it. So they will put a stethoscope for medical, and they would put different things on this sheet. But these things that they're putting on the sheet are really stemmed. I want you to understand what they do. Once the child crawls to it and just picks it up, you know how babies are, they're going to crawl and they're going to touch it. The parent automatically begins to gear that child in
Towards
that
it.
direction.
Mhm.
And they are saving money for that direction. So if we were to take just a general conversation with some of our Asian counterparts or our Indian counterparts who are in some of these STEM programs and ask them, hey, when you were a child, what did your parents tell you that you crawled and touched? And you can see the correlation. That's
Okay.
something that we've got to bridge in our community.
So I'm glad we mentioned the Asian community, right? Because I don't think they get applauded enough, and I give them, you know, credit when credit is due. So what they do, they rely heavily on education.
They
Period.
do.
They go to school year round. Period. They believe heavy in mathematics, you know, sciences, STEM. period, right? So what do their kids do? They score higher on
High.
standardized testing, right?
They do.
They completely score higher in these SAT, ACT scores. And what does that mean? They get scholarships
Right.
at a much higher level to go to these four-year institutions, and they're prepared to enter those institutions and get it and get out.
So
Okay.
if you would, what were you gonna say, Terry?
Oh, no, I was just saying, okay.
So if you would wrap this up as financial legacy is what we're talking about today. I think y'all mentioned something about, Michael Kors, and this is where a lot of the money goes, and all of these things. Also, I think Brandy mentioned something about, of course, the HBCUs. And when it's the mindset when young people go to HBCUs, and I work at HBCU, been working, HBCUs most of my adult life. But what I see a lot of, yes, you see these excited young people, but you see some young people come in, early on or go into a HBCU, and they have these great plans, and then those plans doesn't pan out. And then that's the discouragement comes and set in. So what do you say to young people, that are in school now that may, have gotten off on the wrong foot but want to turn it around? What do you say to them? And what do you say to parents? What should they be saying to these young people? We got a lot of young people they're applying for college right now. And they, should have all of their information in so that they can get, student loans or whatever, or, grants. But what do you say to these, parents? What do you say to these young people?
As a parent whose child, my son, I told my third son, I said, look, I don't think that's your area of study. Oh, no, Mom, I want to be an accountant. I said, I don't see accountant in you because from a child up, all you ever did was music. But oh, no, Mom, I want to be an accountant.
Right.
So you know how we parents, we want to support this accountant. After about one semester and the grades showed up, he said, I think you're right. I think it's music. So now I paid for a semester that was, I won't even say what the grade was, bless his heart. But the rest of the school year and the rest of his time in college was actually where he needed to be. One of the things that I think that I learned, I think parents, we need to really be honest with ourselves. We know our society says, go to college, or go to technical school. Let's be honest when we look at our children and assess them honestly. And let's be honest with our pocketbook. If your pocketbook was not prepared for college, then let your pocketbook walk over to the community school and be very happy in knowing that when they finish that 2-year degree, you are debt free.
Wow.
Right.
And I want to pitch it over to Terry because I know Terry got something to tell us about her daughter.
My daughter, she went to Gordon University, which is a 2-year college. And then she went on to Kennesaw State for her bachelor's degree, as well as Georgia State for her master's degree. And she owes no student loans. All of her money came from grants and scholarships.
See,
That's
When
awesome.
Ashley
all the way
went to
through.
college, she went on a scholarship as well, but she ended up, getting the student loans.
And I think that's an excellent story because
Yeah, but Brunel's nothing.
Like I've said, I want to be clear to all the parents in the show that hey, it doesn't matter hey what your kid is going to become, right? Because
Right.
at this point in their life, they have no idea. They just have a dream. They have something on a bucket list that they think is cool at the moment, right?
Right.
The thing is, we just want to give them a platform to figure it out. And that platform may be a 4-year institution. That platform may be a community college. That platform may be an in-state school versus an out-state school because you get more resources, right? That platform may be going into the military and then using the military to pay for your student. Because long as you while you're in the military, you're active and you go to classes, they'll pay for it long as you keep a C or above average.
Right.
And that's all the way up to your master's. So
So
Right.
it's just understanding that there are other platforms and other avenues to get to an education, and that when you're young, 21 to 25, you just might not you're not mature enough to understand what it is you want to do. So hey, you do something until you get to that level of maturity, so you can make the right decisions.
We
So
got a
legacy.
comment actually in our, we got a comment from Dwight Miller. He says, so who is teaching this in our community?
Ah,
Good
And that's
question.
the
Dwight.
issue. That's the issue. And that's a good comment, but that's the issue that we have in our community, which is why this program is so important. This is why it's so important that we as parents and grandparents go to the PTA meetings, find out what is going on in these school systems, and start
Absolutely.
pitching the things that we want them to talk about in the school. And if they're not going to do it, then say, hey, principal, can I get the cafeteria, put my flyers out there and announce it and send it home in the backpacks, and whatever parent shows up on this day that we selected, I will talk to them and have the necessary resources in there. Sometimes if the school won't do it, you as a parent, go find the information,
Mhm.
the school, get the cafeteria, bring the parents in, line them up according to COVID, 6 feet apart, and do it. But I just really want to touch right quick on the military, because
That's right.
I know for a fact I'm military and I'm 100% disabled, and I sent my son to school the last 2 years. They got that money and they were able to go to school. But I want to talk to some of our young people who are in the military right now, who may see this, or to parents who may hear this. If your child is in the military, Octavia said something very important. So as we used to say when I was in college, and the teacher wanted you to remember something, they'll go tap, tap, tap. This
Right.
is a tap, tap, tap moment. If your child is in the military right now, your child should be signed up and going to college. It is free. Let me try this again. It is free. 5
Absolutely.
branches of the military, you're in there. It is free. And on top of that, they give you a laptop. Let me try this again. Tap, tap, tap. They give you a laptop. Your student does not have to pay for that laptop. Now, if your student, okay, did not go to the military, and you parent are in the military and you get 100% disability, do not let your child squander that stipend
Right.
or that money that is being given to them and to that university, because, oh, mom's not paying for it, so I'll go to class if I want to and go to class if I don't want to. No,
Right.
make sure you keep track on your child. Now, for those adults, I had this experience. For those adults who got out the military and you finally found out that there's 2 ways to go to college. You can take your 911 and turn it over to your child, and then there's another GI 911 that is out there for you.
wow.
When you go to school, don't just sit there and get that money for going to school or that cost of living because of the era you're living in, and think that you're just going to collect money and not pass the classes. VA got really smart and hip to that. So now when you fail a class, the VA wants you to pay them back the money.
Wow.
So
Wow.
let's just start thinking. If the VA has 2 ways for you, there's 2 ways for you to go to school. There's a GI Bill that you pay for while you're in active duty that you can turn over to one of your children.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
Then there is another GI Bill, which is what I went to school on, okay, for people who serve, even if you didn't serve. It's another GI Bill through the VA.
That's
And they
how
pay
Ian
for
went
that.
to school.
Then
Yeah.
there's also in the state of Virginia, people in Virginia, listen up. And if you're not in Virginia, check your state. Each state has a military bill where they will pay for you to go to school.
Some states are free. Alabama is absolutely free if you're
Wow.
100%.
Just by virtue of you being a
Good
veteran.
information.
Just by
Great
virtue of-
information.
Yeah.
So
What do you say
Wow.
to children that are in high school now, want to go to the military?
go to the military after you finish your basic training, or whatever they call it in the Air Force. I only can speak for the Army, but each one has a different title for your initial entry courses. For us in the Army, it's called basic training, and then you go to your advanced training. When they're finished with their advanced training, that means they've gotten their specialty, whatever they're going to be doing in the military. Then they go to their first permanent duty assignment. At your first permanent duty assignment, make your way down to the educational counselor, register for school. You can do school in person, because on every military installation, there's a Barden Education Center. That's what it's called.
Wow.
Every installation, Barden Education Center, and you can go to school after work. or you can go to school online. And there are a lot of universities that support the military. So there's no excuse for your child. If the minimum sign up for the military now is really like 3 years, they can come out with an associate's degree.
Now, can they come out buying a house?
Yes, they can.
Absolutely.
Yes, they can, because they're a veteran. And as a veteran, you will get the honor and the privilege of the VA helping you to purchase a home. But let me just put a quick plug. The military got really smart. They came up with TSP, Thrift Savings Plan for Active Duty Military Personnel. And you don't have a choice. They're going to automatically enroll you in TSP. That is a great thing. That is your own personal 401k while you're on active duty. And the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, all 5 branches have established the 401k called TSP. Please ensure that when you get out the military, whether you ETS out, or unfortunately you got put out, or you retire, there is a TSP pot of money that is in there for you. Please make sure you catch all of your paperwork and utilize your TSP to the fullest extent.
That
Wow.
is so good.
That is so rich.
We got to wrap up, but that's some good stuff
So
right there.
rich. Oh my God. I think that, I don't know what to say, because this information has been so, rich. And parents, I tell you, but I want to put this plug, and Brandy mentioned it, I think Octavius too. But parents, you got children that are juniors and seniors, please, 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 you're talking about legacy now, and you want them to go on to do so well in life and to succeed in life. But it starts right there. It actually starts early. But in high school, for instance, maybe you have not gotten them to that point where they understand the importance of their grades and the importance of, going to their counselor. I say to you, with all the students that the counselors have now, thousands and thousands of students, I don't care how many thousands of students they have, you make sure that your child get to that counselor, or you're talking to that counselor, so that their child can get all of the great units that they need to graduate. But not only that, but these students are prepared and ready, because now you have a lot of counselors. They're not really counseling the children. So the children don't know which way to go. They are seniors in high school, don't even know what to do, which way to go. And parents, I'm saying to you, you contact those counselors, because the counselors will turn those students off. It's sorry to say, not all counselors, and I want to put that out there, but there's a lot of counselors that are not attentive to all of these students. They can't, it's too many. They got a big load. I asked a couple of young people, and they say, well, I can't, talk to my counselor, they don't have time, or, you try to make an appointment, they never get back to you. So you want to make sure that they're getting what they need from their counselor. Don't try to do all of this on your own, because they're there to help your child to be able to go to college or whatever choice of education they want to go to. So
we got one question. What was the name, Brandy, of the program in the state of Virginia, so people know what to look for?
It's a veterans program. It's the Virginia Veterans Program. I will give you the information, and we can probably discuss it on next week, but it's so important because it is in the state of Virginia, and it's for veterans to go to college. Virginia State pays for it. And I believe you have to be about 90% disabled, and then it will cover, I believe it's not just the veteran itself, but also the spouse and the child.
So if they go online to the Veterans Administration, they list all the states, and you just find your state, you click on your state, and you see what your state offers for VA benefits.
Financial legacy.
Yes.
Awesome.
And I just
we
want
got
to
to continue this next week.
Go on, Octavius.
Go ahead.
I just want to end by saying to the parents, we talk about counselors, and I think counselors do a great job. I think sometimes it's our students not listening, at all. Like, I know my child would not look at emails, and everything was there in his emails, because that's the way they communicate now, right? But I want to implore that parents, hey, reach out to your network, reach out to, your circle, because there's so many people in your circle that can help you and answer those questions, who are already veterans, who are already college graduates, who are already master's degree recipients, and, in healthcare, and had, students who went through college without paying. Reach out into your network, your inner circle, and don't be afraid to ask those questions, or send your child to get those answers. And a lot of times that helps more, because you already know and identify with, and you can relate to that person, versus a counselor or somebody just sitting in an office building somewhere.
Mhm.
Say this right
Thank
That's
quick.
you
good.
so much.
Now we got to
But,
wrap up, right?
I'm sorry. A lot of these
Last
jobs
statement.
that our students can get, like Wegmans and places like that, they will help pay for your colleges. So
Yeah.
also remember, if your
Yeah.
child have an after-school job,
Chick-fil-A.
find out from that job, do you assist or give anything towards this child going to college? There's
That's
a lot
right.
of money out there.
Yeah.
We just be
Mhm.
educated.
Just gotta know how to get it.
Go get
Mhm.
it.
Yes,
That's it.
I agree.
That's it.
And you just, this is so good. You just hate to stop, but it's great and it's rich information. Thank you so much, Brandy, and thank you so much, Octavius, Terry, and Shawana. It's just been really good. And we could go on and on with this because I think that it is such a great conversation. We will, of course, be back next week, ending up our financial legacy. And we will have the statistics and the information that we were not able to pull up, but we'll have that information for you on next week. So I want to say this has been Let's Talk About It with Alice. And this has been a great, great conversation with Ms. Brandy Burrell, and then also with Octavius Terrell. Isn't that interesting? Terrell. Awesome. I love it. So thank you so much, Brandy and Octavius and Terry. So we love to always say love
Peace.
and increase to you. We love you. And thank you so much for tuning in with Let's Talk About It with Alice. If you have any information that you would like for us to share, please put it in our comments. You can go to Let's Talk About It with Alice. You can also go to YouTube. You can also go to my Facebook page, or you can go to Shawana's Facebook page. And I would love for you to share this because this was great information. Please share this, share it with your churches, everyone, because this is information that's really, really is for this time. It's for this time for our young people. If you want to leave a legacy, if you want to leave that great legacy, listen, this is the place to get that information because legacies are important. We are learning as we go as well. So let's talk about it with Alice. I love you. Thank you, Terry. Thank you. Thank you, Shawana. Thank you, Brandy. And thank you, Octavius. Goodbye. Have a blessed day.
We'll
Bye-bye.
see you guys next week at
next
6
week,
o'clock,
next week,
same
next
time,
week,
same
next
place.
week. We don't
Love you,
always
Nicole.
music. Keep that in mind. All right. Thank you.